Like a Jedi with hatred inside them, Star Wars Battlefront 2 is its own worst enemy. Despite its harder-hitting blasters, a wider variety of iconic Star Wars heroes, gorgeously detailed locations, and a short single-player campaign, its bafflingly terrible progression systems and rushed story keep it from being much more than shallow Star Wars fun. While the 2015 Battlefront had no single-player campaign at all, this one only took about 4 hours to complete. But simply put, it's a bit of a mess. It starts with an interesting perspective, following Imperial Special Forces Commander Iden Versio through the period between Return of the Jedi and The Force Awakens. But even though the actual missions are mostly amusing, thanks in part to some satisfying new blasters and a combination of ground and simple but flashy space battles, what little story is here feels extremely disjointed and rushed as it tries to fit what seems like a larger character arc into just a few hours. The first mission set up Iden as a character with some depth, and her personal struggle during the fall of the Empire is a unique angle for a Star Wars story. But after that strong intro, it quickly throws her headfirst down the most predictable path possible and takes very little time to justify or explain her actions. Worse, it then pretty much ignores her in favor of a parade of cameos by recognizable characters and locations. It's nothing short of Star Wars tourism. Sure, that can be fun at times, especially with how well developer DICE nailed the look, sound, and feel of a Star Wars film. But Iden gets lost in the shuffle, and it makes the paper-thin plot used to string those missions together feel unsatisfying by the end. It didn't help that the cutscenes stutter frequently either. So, the large-scale multiplayer battles remain the biggest reason to play Battlefront 2. In some ways, it's an improvement over the last game, but with a big catch that quickly squashes its long-term appeal. It gets the fundamentals of Star Wars firefights right, in that its blasters feel and sound especially meaty and satisfying to fire compared to its predecessor. And an active reload mechanic adds a touch of skill and choice where before there was just endless firing. The new heroes are also thrilling to command, with a system that rewards good performance with the opportunity to tear through your opponents as Darth Maul, Luke Skywalker, and many others. That includes the nearly unhittable Yoda, who's pretty much the odd job of Battlefront 2 because of his tiny hitbox. Or you can take part in the battle from above by dogfighting and strafing through the skies in a starfighter. But while the moment-to-moment combat is strong, the star cards may be one of the worst progression systems I've ever seen. Class upgrades are funneled through randomized loot crates with tediously high resource costs. I was generally earning between 100 and 400 credits per 5 to 15 minute match, but the basic trooper crate costs a whopping 4,000. Crates give you 3 or 4 random star cards and some crafting materials to make specific ones, but cosmetic items are annoyingly in the mix as well. So maybe you get a card that subtly increases damage, maybe you get a whole new ability, or maybe you get a boring, out-of-place emote for a class you don't use. This all means I wasn't opening crates very often and rarely getting what I wanted when I did, making upgrading a specific class feel like a frustrating grind. Even with EA's last-minute decision to temporarily remove real money microtransactions, the star card system is a frustrating, unintuitive, and obnoxiously slow way to progress your characters. Pay to win or not, it's just bad, and there are still lingering balance problems from the max-level cards that people got from purchasing the deluxe edition. That said, the absurd progression system doesn't mean the multiplayer itself suddenly isn't fun to play. It just loses its shine a lot quicker. There's a good deal of map variety across 11 distinctly Star Wars locations, with more on the way in the form of promised free DLC. But that DLC can't come soon enough, as swapping locations was one of the only things that distracted me from the slow crawl of card collection I experienced between each match. It's also worth noting that I ran into some performance issues and bugs along the way, but nothing too game-breaking. The frame rate could occasionally dip on PC, and I'd often have to wait for the server to catch up when checking my card collection. The combat itself generally ran well enough, though I did get stuck in level geometry once or twice. Battlefront 2 does a lot of things right, offering a Star Wars experience that's stunning to look at and wonderfully faithful to the source material, but it stumbles hard on the delivery. The campaign is amusing but scatterbrained, and worse, in multiplayer the slow and randomized progression systems are downright hostile to its players. EA has already made 2 big adjustments to this system in the week leading up to launch alone, and we can only hope that more significant changes are on the way. But right now, the star card system's frustrating progression is actively driving me away from its multiplayer battles. For more on Star Wars Battlefront 2, you can see what we got from opening 60 loot crates at once, or watch us get 30 kills in multiplayer as Yoda. And for everything else, keep it right here on IGN.